Okay, MSNBC, this reporter on site is basically going to give us a little bit of the timeline as far as when people knew that there was lead in the water. And then Thomas Roberts, who I am losing a lot of respect for him, and I didn't have a lot to begin with. He's basically going to attack the former mayor, trying to catch him up as being responsible for this problem. But the mayor, who's a Democrat, clearly indicates that he was not responsible for this because all the power had been taken away from him and the city council. So let's continue.
There are documents that have come to light through Freedom of Information Act requests that show that members of the government of Snyder's administration were discussing lead in the water as early as April and even February at the EPA level of 2015, and yet did not act until just early January, so only about 2 weeks ago. And that, they say, is a negligent case, and there needs to be redress for people who've been exposed at a population-wide level to what is a very toxic chemical, Thomas.
Tony DeCopo reporting there in Lansing, Michigan. Tony, thanks so much. And the White House, in the press briefing, Josh Earnest just made comment about what's taking place, saying that the response should be led by state and local authorities. We know that the current mayor of Flint, Michigan is in Washington, D.C. for the conference of mayors and speaking with some folks inside the White House. But the predecessor to Mayor Weaver is joining me now. That is Dayne Walling, the former mayor of Flint. Sir, thanks for making time for me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Good afternoon.
So it can be argued this water crisis is one of the issues that contributed to you losing re-election last year to the newly elected Mayor Weaver. So explain the timeline. What did you know and when did you know it about the issue with the water?
Yeah, and you're right. There's a great deal of frustration in the community, and a lot of good questions are still being asked. We had major problems with the water going all the way back to the summer of 2014 when the switch was made, and anytime information came to me, we worked to put a solution in place. What we found out in October was that lead was leaching from the pipes. It was poisoning our children. And at that point, everything changed. Our local county thankfully declared a public health emergency. There was a switch back to the Detroit water, but it just wasn't followed through on. That's now 3 months behind us, with the initial problems with this trihalomethane being more than a year ago, and we're still asking for support, we're still asking for relief, and the governor has to deliver some major support to the city and the kids who have been affected tonight at his State of the State address.
A lot of people, though, Mayor Walling would question the handling of this crisis, given that there was a city council vote to disengage from getting water from Detroit, to go ahead and try and establish your own connectivity to Lake Huron. And this connection to you in Detroit with getting your water from there dates back to the 1960s because of a profiteering scandal that negated the power of people in Flint and the negotiating power for your folks to get water anywhere else than Detroit. That expired. Why wasn't there proper vetting done of the water resources for the plan you engaged in?
Yeah, well, that's exactly what should have happened. The city of Flint was under the control of a state-appointed emergency manager. Your network's done a great job of covering the injustice and the challenges that are associated with that. So it is right that myself and City Council did express our public support for the City of Flint joining a new Lake Huron water supply, the Carignan Water Authority. But everything that was presented to us, this was in the March of 2013, showed the city staying with the Detroit system through 2016 until the new pipeline came online. And it was later that a state-appointed emergency manager made this switch in the plan and in the budget for the city to use the Flint River as an interim source. So that was done by a state-appointed emergency manager. And then even once that happened, I think those of us who had concerns still expected that the state Department of Environmental Quality would have properly regulated the water, but they admitted in October of 2015 that the Safe Drinking Water Act, the lead and copper rule, was not applied all the way from the beginning. That's why one of the solutions here has to be that residents receive a refund for more than $60 million that they paid in the last 21 months for this terrible water.
Sir, it seems as if there's a lot of different finger pointing going on within the state and also the city about how this happened. And Genesee County, which Flint resides in, residents in the county itself, not in the city proper, stayed on the Detroit water system. The folks in the city that are of a poorer demographic were exposed to this toxic water. We have been hearing from them, and they feel scapegoated that they were actually exposed to this and exposed for so long, and that people threw up their hands. Do you apologize to them and their families? Do you apologize for any type of lifelong problems that these folks may endure because of decisions made under your office?
See, now that's a bunch of bullshit, because he wasn't listening to what the mayor said. The mayor said that it wasn't them that made the switch off of the Detroit water system onto the Flint River water system. It was the appointed manager by the governor. He said they weren't even, when they signed off on it, the budget that they signed off on or voted for, they couldn't sign off on it, only that city manager could. But the budget they voted for showed that the city of Flint was still going to be using the water from Detroit, just as the outlying counties were using it. It was only that Joe Jerkoff, city manager, decided he was going to screw the people of Flint, i.e. saving some money, that created this problem. And this particular mayor at the time had no authority to do anything else. And Thomas Roberts wasn't listening to this guy when he laid the whole thing out. So I wonder which side of the fence he's on. But anyway, let's let the former mayor make his statement, which he is going to apologize for the problems, even though he didn't cause them.
Well, I regret that the city made the switch. I apologize and have apologized to the families that I've spoken with. But we have to be clear that the decision to switch to the Flint River, it was not made by myself and the city council. State-appointed emergency manager has total control to make decisions over budget, over personnel. In many cases, information that myself and city council should have known was shielded from us. So,
but you did vote with the city council in a vote of 7-1 on March 25th of 2013 to go ahead and disengage from the Detroit system and initiate your own. You did vote, and that to disengage from Detroit. True. Yes or no?
And that, yes, we did. And that financial projection showed the city of Flint paying for Detroit water through 2016. It was a later change by the emergency manager in June of that same year, where the budget and the public works plan was changed. Myself and city council had no part of that, and I know that's hard to understand, and these appointed emergency managers are in a unique role that's unlike what's happened in other cities. But that's the fact of the matter. We need to see the state come forward. The governor needs to show his leadership here. It's been now 3 months since a public health emergency was declared. Before the emergency disaster recommendation was made, we need the support.
We shall see how it works out tonight with the State of the State address. We know that the governor is going to be focusing mainly on the crisis in Flint. Former Flint Mayor Dayne Walling. Sir, thank you for your time. I do appreciate it.
See, and Thomas Roberts is being really disingenuous. The guy had to tell him 3 times that they weren't the ones who actually signed off for the Flint River water to be used. It was their understanding that they were going to continue to use the Detroit water system through 2016, which is this year, when the new water system that they were signing into, the pipes should be ready to connect them to the Lake Huron water system, which is the same water basically as the Great Lake water system that Detroit is currently on. So I'm going to follow up on this evening. Hopefully there'll be a live broadcast of the governor of Michigan's State of the State address.